Rezinoc is an interesting one. In the early stages of this game, way before it was even P&D, I ran it with the players of Anarchy 12 and Makai, and both would tell you that I was extremely strict when it came to what players could and couldn't do. And both know that Rezinoc, as well as a few other players, are complete violations of the old ways. However, in the current state of the game, I consider the lot of you OGs of Gamma Haven. You are all the original players, the first wave, and therefore the foundation for what's to come. What this means is, there's a first time for everything, and Rezinoc will be the first and only character I probably allow to have an ability that copies others. Rezinoc's abilities allow him to see an ability being used, understand how it's being used, and allow his body to bridge the gap of knowing how and being able to. If there are visual cues to a mutant's ability or a skill that Rez can see, he will analyze it and know how it is done. An ability identical to that of what Deathtude can do. However, the difference with Rez is his body can actually mutate into being able to replicate the ability. If a character can cause bone spikes to protrude out of their forearms, Rezinoc would see that they are flexing a muscle that pushes the sharp spike out of their arm. His body will then mutate his own bones and produce endorphins that make him invulnerable to the pain that would come with protruding spikes, or something like that. If there is no visual cue, Rez will not be able to analyze it, of course. If the ability requires knowledge that he does not have, then Rez will not be able to do it the same way. In fact, Rez will always only know the base functionality of the ability at minimum, using the knowledge only obtained by what he could see and analyze. This will almost always result in his analyzed abilities being made into his own version with his own spin on it, in turn making him an ever-changing hodgepodge of abilities. A good example of this is when he spectated R-Type X's fighting in the tournament. Rezinoc watched R-Type X manipulate energy. However, without the knowledge of techniques taught to R-Type or self-taught by himself, Rez will never know how to shape his own energy into razor-sharp lotus petals, and instead will have to find his own way to shape his energy manipulation. This preserves the uniqueness of the other players. We also imposed a limit to how many abilities Rez could have remembered or analyzed at once. This makes it so that the player of Rez is able to get creative as to what combination of powers he has at his disposal. We have seen Rez gather a variety of abilities and use them as best as he could use them, like when we saw him manage to create energy clones and imbue them with the elements via elemental manipulation, but was nowhere near as proficient in the martial arts as his opponent. In whole, this combination of abilities Rez has makes him into this almost parasitic force that is obsessed with analyzing his G-type counterparts and taking on their powers almost to the point of becoming an unhealthy urge. His craving for knowledge of their ability essentially dehumanizes the G-type in his eyes, and they become more of a math problem, or in some cases a vending machine. We saw a glimpse of this when Rezinoc was more concerned with the girl's power more so than her legs getting blown up, or when he was threatened with not being able to see the smug trainer's powers. His desperation had him cast away his honor in order to eliminate his competition in the course. Rezinoc Origins will be a series that will give us more glimpses at this aspect of Rezinoc, and we will watch him experiment and grow into his pool of abilities, into a monster.